Please can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today, where our goal is to shift dementia care from crisis to comfort around the world. And we do that by raising everyone's voice. We feel it's so needed for people to get products, tools, techniques, and resources that they need to live graciously alongside this disease. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe today, and we will make sure that you hear about every episode that we do. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and for those of you that don't know me, my own mother had dementia for 30 years, so I get the guilt, the exhaustion, the frustration, and just all those emotions that are wrapped into caring for another. I've also been able to find on this path the joy, the purpose, and the passion. So listen in and let us help you maneuver this space. Now, before I introduce our guests, I also want to just mention, for those of you that don't know, September is World Alzheimer's Month. So think about, what are you going to do different to improve the lives of somebody living with dementia? One of the things you could do is maybe participate in our airport travel survey that we have. You can go to alzheimerspeaks.com and you'll see a big icon and a photo of an airplane, and just click on that. This survey is for people with dementia in early to mid stages, along with their travel companions, to tell us how has airport travel worked for them and to share their stories so that we can improve things. I also want to give a shout out to the Memory Cafe directory. So many people still don't know what memory cafes are, and they are a gathering of like-minded individuals, people who are diagnosed with early to mid dementia and their care partners. It's a place where they can build a community and friendship and share resources, which is just such a great way to not feel alone and to get some wonderful tips that are working for other people. Last, I just want to give a shout out to Stall Catchers. Stall Catchers is a game that we can all play that actually helps analyze real live data on Alzheimer's research. So go to stallcatchers.com. And again, for our listeners, I want to thank you for your loyalty, for listening and sharing and pushing out our radio show. I never thought that we would be heard around the world, and that is because of you, not because of me. So again, I hope you continue to push out to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all the other platforms that you belong to, because chances are there's somebody in those communities that you don't even know that is dealing with this disease, and they need your help. They need the resources, and the more we can push out, the easier it's going to be for them to find that information when they need it. Now, today I am really excited about this show because we are going to be talking about an event that's taking place in Atlanta, and it's going to have an international presence of one of probably the most popular concepts that has been intriguing people all around the world. And so let me introduce our guests, and they can tell us more about this event. Anne McSweeney is a licensed clinical social worker with over 30 years of experience in education, community relations, and medical social work. In 2009, she founded CEU Creations, which was initially called CEU Concepts, which provides innovative and affordable training to social workers, counselors, nurses, and others in the helping profession. And Anne is the one putting on this event, which we will get to in just a minute. But welcome, Anne. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks so much, Lori, for having us. Steve and I are excited to be on today.
Well, I am thrilled to have you on. So let me introduce your sidekick and hubby, Steve McSweeney, who has also spent over 30 years in IT, which had actually come in handy right when we were doing the show here. He got us up and running. He has worked at Verizon, Alltel, Home Depot, corporate, and others. He is an integral part of CEU Creations, and that's been from its inception. Steve actually joined the team full-time in 2017 to assist Anne with the technology piece of online courses and team management and operations. So welcome, Steve. How are you?
Terrific. How are you doing today? Really appreciate you having us on today.
Well, I am excited to have you both here. So I'm going to start by asking both of you. I'll start with Anne first, but I always ask this question of everybody on the show, and it just is a reference point for our audience. And the question is this. Anne, have you ever been touched personally by dementia in your own family or circle of friends?
So, yes, I think going back to when I started medical social work many moons ago, probably about 25 years ago, I used to do dialysis, hospice, and home health social work. And just by the nature of medical social work that I did, most of my patients were older adults, and many of them had some type of dementia or Alzheimer's. What I always say is my patients are my inspiration for what I do today, because I learn more from my patients than I learn from any book, any CEU training, anything. I learn from my patients. So I carry them with me in my heart today, and I want to improve outcomes to improve their lives. So my life was touched tremendously by what I learned from all of them going through this.
Great, thank you. And Steve, how about you?
Yeah, a little bit from more of a personal level, not being in the social work field like Anne, but have had some relatives who have been dealing with these types of issues. And just seeing what kind of care is needed, just from a care perspective. So it's been a little bit different for me, but it's been a bit more personal.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, Anne, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background? It sounds like it's a real unique combination of education, community relations, medical social work. So how did you get started with CEU Creations?
About 25 years ago, I had my master's in social work, and I started, as I mentioned, doing social work in home health, hospice, and dialysis, so in the medical arena. From there, I segued to working with elder law attorneys, which was a little different. I was one of the first social workers in the Atlanta area to work with an elder law attorney doing community education and community relations. And one of the things I noticed as I was working with the elder law attorney, I was still keeping up my own CEUs. I had to have 35 every 2 years to keep up my own license. And I was sitting in these horrendously boring, torturous classes thinking, there just has to be a better way to do this. And I had a light bulb go off in my head where I was like, well, my attorneys are great speakers and they have great information to pass along to these healthcare professionals. A lot along many of the things that we're talking about with powers of attorney, wills, guardianships, things that people need to do for long-range planning. So back in the day, about 20 years ago, I started doing CEs working with the elder law attorneys and tried to do them very differently. And I would have people coming up to me saying, your CEs are so different, but why are you only doing elder law topics? So hence, that's how CEU Creations was born. And we have two missions with CEU Creations. I'd say our first mission is to really, as we talked about a little bit, as I touched on, to bring that educational experience to the learner, to the participants. I don't want them, I could stand up and I could lecture on the 5 stages of grief, or I could lecture on Alzheimer's and dementia. But when you hear a patient's story who's going through that, or when you hear from a care partner of someone going through dementia, it hits you in the heart. So we like to educate through experience. And we also try to bring the cost of our events down to make them more affordable by supplementing with sponsors that want to be in front of these healthcare professionals.
Well, that's wonderful. It sounds very familiar in terms of what I do when I speak. I call it emotional-based training. I think stories are really powerful, and people don't change unless they really feel it in the heart. And so it's getting them laughing and crying and going, oh my gosh, how do we miss this? And how do we do things different? And so it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, the passion that you have? What are the things that really make your heart sing at work?
So like you touched on, my passion is in that creativity of that content that's going to be so rich, so emotional, so I can watch the participants really taking part in the event. I don't want to see them on their phones. People learn differently now. They're on their phones every 2 seconds. So if I'm going to have them learn, I've got to have them engage in something. Otherwise, their head's going to be in their phone. So I really, really, really love doing that. I've even to that point, I've actually started a somewhat separate company, but where we do CEUs and we do musical CEUs. I partnered with a cancer survivor who wrote a musical about his diagnosis, treatment, and ultimate survivorship, and we've taken that national. I've partnered with an Atlanta actress who cares for her mother who has dementia, and she put together a one-act play, and then we do a dialogue afterwards. So things like this that are so powerful, that really get people learning.
Wonderful. Why don't you tell us about this upcoming event? You've launched your first annual Elder Care Symposium, which is coming up in October. And so what's that going to be about, and who the heck should come?
So we are super, super excited for our first annual Elder Care Symposium. This is kind of a dream of mine coming to fruition after many, many years. It's something that I've thought of, that I wanted to do, and I talked to Steve, and I'm like, let's make it happen this year. Let's launch it. Because like I said, so many people that I worked with from my early years of social work struggled with dementia and Alzheimer's. So we're wanting to bring all the elder care stakeholders to the table, everyone. So not just the healthcare professionals, although they are included, the social workers and nurses and counselors, but anyone who is in the elder care arena. You could have the person with dementia or their care partners, or people working in assisted livings or rehabs or adult day centers. Anyone in that space is invited and encouraged to come, because we have an incredible lineup of speakers that we're bringing to you. So we're bringing in Eloy van Hal of the Hodeweyk of the Dementia Village from the Netherlands. And he is going to be our keynote speaker. He speaks for about 2 hours on his concept, how to make that happen, what he's seen success with, and how to replicate that. Then another one of our speakers is Scott Tarde of the Gleaner Town Square. And it's funny, my mom actually found him, mentioned that she had seen him in the Wall Street Journal right after I found Eloy. I read the Wall Street Journal article. I was like, I'd love to have Scott here. And Scott, interestingly enough, his Gleaner Town Square was just featured last week on ABC's Nightline. So we're super, super excited. And then the one-act play of With Dementia by Carolyn Cook. She is caring for her mom with dementia, but in this one-act play, she gives the perspectives of not only the care partner, but also the person with dementia, and then we dialogue about it afterwards. So these are just 3 of the sessions during that full day of learning that we have. So we have a great, great lineup of international and national speakers coming on this.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm really excited for this, and I wish I was able to be there, because this, it doesn't happen often when you get an international speaker coming to town that has kind of rattled all the trees. I mean, there's not too many people in the industry that don't know about the Dementia Village, and people have, discussed trying to replicate it and how do they do it, and funding seems to be the big, it's not going to work, and so maybe he'll be able to gather some more excitement to get us to do things differently. There's this premise in the U.S. that we're number one and we know how to do everything, and we are so far behind the 8 ball on so many levels. We've come a long ways just in the last 5 years, but when it comes to dementia care, we are not the leaders. It would be lovely if we got in that space again. And I think this symposium that you're pulling together will be just fantastic for people in the U.S. and maybe around the world even to come and experience two really different modes of standard operation. One being the Dementia Village and the other being the Gleaner Town Square. And I think that will be amazing. I love that you have Carolyn Cook doing her one-act play as well, because I've participated with similar plays, and there's not very many out there, but powerful. Oh my gosh, so powerful for people to see. I also have to really give you kudos for opening up the door to all stakeholders. And one of the things, my own mom had dementia for 30 years. And so one of the things that frustrated me as a daughter, and when I stepped into this space 10 years ago, was people had this belief that you either have to talk to the medical professionals, the housing professionals, the nurses are their own category, the doctors. And I just thought that's asinine, because we all affect one another. We all affect the care. And we are never going to make great changes without getting everyone involved and opening it up to the person diagnosed, living day to day with the disease, the family members. But even beyond that, I mean, I would love to see, car dealerships and grocery stores and everything else come into play, because this disease is affecting all of society. And it's time that we bust that myth down that, one person with dementia is just one person. It's not. It's a whole community that's affected. And so I think the platform that you've set up for this is absolutely fantastic. I wanted to ask you about what are some of your future goals with CEU Creations that you're working on.
So I think we're just really trying to continue to push the envelope with everything we do. My goal is to always have these innovative speakers that are on the cutting edge of what they're doing and bringing that to our learners. And also I would love to do more symposiums and conferences like this where we kind of bring everyone together, because yes, as a social worker when I started out in the field, I did notice that, sometimes I didn't know some of the resources, because it's like the left hand doesn't always know what the right hand is doing, because we don't always come together often enough. And definitely my goal once a year, this is the first annual, I want to do this each year. We are looking at debuting an elder abuse conference next year as well, and showing a documentary film and bringing in speakers around that, and just doing, like I said, more of these very innovative kind of events.
Wonderful. One person just that I know, and I don't know if you're familiar with him on the whole elder abuse, is Bill Lightfoot. He is a retired detective, and he is just a wealth of information. He's from out east, but again, I think that would be absolutely fabulous. Let me pull Steve into the conversation. He's been waiting so patiently for us. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit more about, what you'd like to see within CEU Creation?
Sure. That's a great question. Obviously, Anne has so much to offer in terms of the content, the ideas, and really the high level, what would be best to get this information to the different stakeholders, whether it be the case managers, nurses, counselors, all of those people. And really what I would like to do with my IT background is kind of expand those opportunities to reach more people, hopefully through some technology. We've got some interesting things that we're looking at right now, but really to be able to connect with people in different areas. One thing that was really cool was that Anne had done a presentation online, and one of the attendees to the event was in Italy, a social worker in Italy. And that was just so cool to us, being able to have this conversation around the world. And really, that's what we're looking to do. And love your idea of bringing in a potential presenter to have different input from so many different areas. So being very excited about the possibilities that technology will help provide.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting what is possible. I mean, when I stepped into this space 10 years ago, I mean, I've never been out of the country. I can't believe how many contacts I now have all around the world and people that I've been able to interview all over the place. You know, services don't need to be in our backyard, and that's a mentality that needs to shift, because so many people still think the services have to be right in your area, and that is so not true with computer connections and the resources. And we have to, you know, I agree with you and Anne, we have to do things different. We have to keep up with the times. We have to deliver things in a fashion that people want, and it needs to be accessible. One of the things that I loved, and we'll get a little bit more into this, but is the pricing of this conference is ridiculously low. I mean, for what you are offering, it's fabulous. And so kudos for being able to manage that. That's huge. Now, Steve, I have to ask you the old elephant in the room question, and that is, how the heck is it working with your wife?
Yeah. Wow. All right. The nice thing about Anne and I, or one of the nice things, we tend to really complement each other. As I was saying, she's got wonderful ideas, great concepts, things that I would never even think about. And then for me, I kind of see myself as the logistics person, in addition to the IT stuff, which is definitely not Anne's forte. But so she'll come up with these ideas. Hey, I think this would be wonderful. Let's try this. And so I think part of what I do is step back and say, okay, what do we need to do to make this happen, and kind of figure that out. We're both, I think in some ways, perfectionists. We both hold ourselves and our company to a very high standard, and we want to keep maintaining that. But luckily, as I say, I think when for the most part, we complement each other very well.
Wonderful. Now, do you have some goals, Steve, that you hope to accomplish together in the future? Do you have any particular things on the tickler list?
Well, like we were talking about, we're looking to expand our reach through technology, as well as our live events. We're in a suburb of Atlanta. Anne's done a great job along the northern area of Atlanta, but now we're going to the south side of Atlanta, South Georgia, South Carolina, some things potentially in Florida, Tennessee. So we're expanding geographically, physically, but also helping that expansion with technology as well.
Thank you so much. Well, next I want to go to some fabulous fans of CEU Creations and fill you in a little bit about their roles, and then we're going to hear from them on, you know, why they love CEU Creations and what they're thinking about this fabulous first-time symposium that they're pulling together. So I first want to introduce you to Phyllis Joseph. Phyllis has been a social worker for over 30 years, and as a licensed professional with a bachelor and master's degree in social work, She is also currently serving as a supervisor in a care management community at Piedmont Atlanta Hospital in Georgia. So welcome, Phyllis. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. I'm going to introduce your sidekicks here with you today. So next I'm going to go to Mary Lee Boatwright Quinn. And she is a licensed clinical social worker with years of medical social work experience. She currently is the advocacy and public policy person for the Alzheimer's Association in the Georgia chapter. And she is also the chairperson and the co-founder for the Great Atlantic chapter of Natural Aging in Place Council. So welcome, Mary Lee. How are you doing today?
Hi, Lori. I'm doing well, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. We've got one more to go here. So last but not least is Cindy Nelson. And Cindy is an attorney and the founder of Nelson Elder Care Law in Woodstock, Georgia. And she specializes in representing senior rights and interests to offer peace of mind to families and their loved ones. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. I'm doing very well, Lori. How are you today?
I am doing just absolutely fabulous. And the first question that I want to pose, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this to Cindy, is how are CEU creation events beneficial for health professionals, and how are they different in your eyes from other trainings? Cindy?
That's a great question, Lori, and thank you for asking. So as I work with CEU Creations, for one, it's the caliber of the event. So the materials that are being taught and the person that is teaching it is a much higher caliber than a lot of the continuing education things that I've attended over the years. But Anne is also so creative. She comes up with things that people hadn't thought of, that I would never think of, just like this symposium. So I think the quality, I think people walk away with real value from the CEUs, and then also just that it's something new and exciting and not the same old stuff all the time.
And there's nothing worse than the same old stuff all the time when you know you have to meet those requirements and you're just kind of dreading going to those. Mary Lee, how about you? What do you think is different about them?
Well, Lori, I've been attending as a participant since I'm a licensed clinical social worker for, I think over 8 years. I've been attending the CEU Creation events, as well as being a speaker sometimes for Anne. So I've been on both sides, and as Cindy said, the caliber is just several notches above other CEU events that I have been to. Not only that, but the cost is really great. For those of us who have to get 35 hours of CEUs in 2 years, that can get quite costly if your employer is not covering it. So the fact that they're affordable is amazing. But the other thing is that CEU Creations has been in the aging network space for so many years. And so for me, somebody who's worked with older adults my entire career, I love going to CEUs that are directly impacting my workday. And so, that is huge. I'm choosing from topics that really impact me as a social worker. And that's just wonderful to have, to not have to choose something that I'm going to be falling asleep at. They're just, I'm intrigued, and I'm always, enjoying them from the beginning to the end, even when they're all-day sessions. So I can't say enough about them. They're great.
Well, that's quite the testimony, because especially when you are going to an all-day piece like that, a lot of times there can be some yawn sessions, and it sounds like you really value the information that you get from them. I'm going to have Phyllis on and just ask her what you think is different and why you enjoy working with CEU Creations.
Ooh, I couldn't wait to tell you all about CEU Creations. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of them. I've been with Anne and Steve probably over 10 years since they first started. I enjoy it so much. It meets my social needs as well as my professional needs. I say that because I always look forward to going to them. I see a lot of friends and we network, and at the same time we're learning lots of things at affordable prices. And I just, it's a year-round event, and I always look forward to them. I'm a self-proclaimed #1 cheerleader for CEU Creations. I really enjoy it, and I've told a lot of social work professionals about their services and all that they do for everyone. The topics are great. She's always open to different ideas and suggestions for added topics. I've also been a speaker myself. I'm a certified fitness instructor, so I've been able to kind of cross over and teach my colleagues some of the fitness tips that I've learned over the years. So it's just a nice way to, again, to stay connected with people in your profession as well as the professions that are associated with us in healthcare. And also, you know, you never go without learning something, which is great. And I think it's great that she's also doing this symposium on Alzheimer's, and that's a very close to my heart because my father suffered from that at a very early age. So not only have I learned it through educational as a social worker, but also seeing it firsthand in my family. So I think it's something that we all need to continue to talk about and to learn from every day.
Well, great, thank you. And it is very different when you've been personally touched by the disease. I remember speaking at a conference one time, for example, and there's like 600 people in this room, and a man up front just started sobbing hysterically. He's probably in his mid-40s. And, you know, I couldn't stop as a speaker, you know, to talk to him. And I said, what's going on? Afterwards, and one of his friends ran out and got a roll of toilet paper for him because he said a box of Kleenex wasn't going to do it. And he said, you know, I've been in this business as an administrator for 21 years, and I thought I was doing it right. I thought I was giving the right advice, and I wasn't. And I feel horrible. My dad has this now. And so when you are personally touched, those stories make such a huge impact because it's no longer just a task. You know, it's really about that human dignity and that relationship and that engagement. And what I'm hearing from all of you is that Anne knows how to bring that to the table and to show, you know, best practices that are duplicatable and unique and different and inspiring. So, you know, you with all three of you, I could just feel your energy of like, can't wait to get there, and I can't wait to leave either because I got stuff I could apply. And that's really, really cool to be able to see. I want to ask, and I'm going to point this question to Cindy first. What are your thoughts about this first annual Elder Care Symposium, you know, that's going to focus on dementia, and who do you think would benefit from that, and why do you want to be involved in it?
And so that is a great question as well. I'll tell you, I was so excited. Anne has been talking to me about this for about a year now. And when she first brought it up, I just thought, wow, this is, talk about thinking outside the box and coming up with something really unique and bringing to the table the people that have walked in these shoes and have done it a better way than what we are doing it on a daily basis. So I'm very, very excited about that. Couldn't wait to be a sponsor in that with Anne. And now I'm just excited about it coming. It's, you know, 1 month from tomorrow, I guess. Anyway, so who do I think should come to that? I think that anybody that works in this industry. So anybody that owns a personal care home or works in an assisted living or deals with people that have any type of cognitive impairment, that they need to come, because the way that we treat people with this illness today in the United States, I think is just very restrictive, and we don't have to treat them that way. And I think we're going to learn that over the coming years, and obviously other parts of the country and other countries have already learned that. but then people that work with anyone that has dementia or cognitive impairment, they need to be at the table. And then I would say anybody that has family members, that they should come and see what is it going to be like in the future? What do we need to be looking towards so we can make life better for the ones that we love? And so that includes, of course, any type of social worker, geriatric care manager. I deal a lot with CPAs and financial advisors and people that sell insurance, and they all need to know because we're all getting older. The population is aging. I guess it would probably be easier for me to define who does not need to go than who does need to go. So everybody I've talked to is very excited about it.
Well, and I agree with your list. I would probably also add, if you've got local politicians, I think they need to see we are not leading the pack with this. And, you know, what we're doing, and Gleaner can step up and say, this is what we've tried here, you know, in city council, city government needs to be there and see what's going on. Our library systems, you know, our medical staff, a little bit of everybody. It's so important to pull everyone together. Mary Lee, how about you? Why are you excited and involved in this program? And who would you like to see step up to the table and be in attendance?
Thank you, Lori. I, for one, am super excited about this event, primarily because, I mean, I, in my early career, read about Dementia Village and was so excited about the concept of it. And so even when I went to Amsterdam, I tried to actually make a visit there because I wanted to see it in person. So to be able to have the creator of this come to our country and discuss, you know, how they did it, I think I'm so excited about it. And I think I really agree with you, Lori, that a wide array of people, including our elected officials, would be great to get to the table, because just hearing about this kind of concept, which, you know, in all honesty, isn't, it couldn't happen in our regulatory environment as we have it in the United States now. So we've got to get those regulatory people, the elected officials who can change those things, to the table. I mean, all of those folks, we need to be really broadening that audience, and including people living with the disease, because, you know, those can be the champion advocates to talk to those elected officials, you know, to say that I am going to need a place like this at some point in my journey, and I would like it to be like this, and the quality, you know, that is here, and the person-centered care and that kind of thing. So I think we just have to shout from the rooftops.
I totally agree with you. The other piece I would like to add that I think would be great would be to get the media to show what it is you're doing that is different, and that, you know, there's so many international collaboratives that are happening right now. I'm working with one group, and we're working on airport travel, and we've got a survey going out, and we have people from all different countries, you know, that are participating. This is not something that we should do alone, because there is great knowledge all around the world and at all levels for people to join. I've got one gal in particular who lives in Florida that I am going to tell about this, and she has loved the Dementia Village. She said, but a lot of us can't afford that price, and her husband had dementia. And she and him actually designed another plan where it would allow care partners to be able to live together and support each other, which would be a fantastic thing. And I know she'll be all over this if there's any way that she can get there, you know, to be able to talk and converse with some people. Because once again, funding in the U.S. is very, very difficult, but we've got to get investors involved in the need. The numbers are just so huge. Let's go to Phyllis next, and I want to hear from you because you just don't have enough energy for us. You're not bubbly enough. And tell us why you're excited about this symposium and who you'd like to see there, Phyllis.
Hi there. Hello again. I am excited, as you can tell. I think it's just in my nature to just be pumped up about education and spreading the word. What comes to mind is just young adults. I think would be a good arena to tap into, even college students that may be studying geriatric care or something related to that. In addition to that, I've seen on some of social media how we have small children interacting with the senior population. I think that'd be cool if the daycare centers some kind of better understanding how the children group, young adult, the little toddlers, the little school age kids that come over, somehow that education from a broad span of knowledge throughout a lifespan from younger to young adults to older population. Everyone should know, because unfortunately I think dementia is almost like this taboo kind of topic in a sense. So just to bring it out to the front, because we need to deal with it. It is what it is, and we got to do better with it.
I totally agree with you, Phyllis. And I love that you're thinking broader and getting the kids involved. If some of them might even be interested for middle and high school to do papers on, to be able to come and sit in. I used to do some education in the schools, which was really interesting. And I was shocked at how many kids are caring for a loved one in their family. And what is happening there, and I saw this repeatedly, and I haven't done it for quite a while, but what I saw repeatedly was that families weren't telling the children all of what's going on. But the kids felt the shift in the family and the dynamics. They knew they were kind of second fiddle because they had to care for maybe a grandparent or whatever, and they couldn't maybe afford to do some things for them that beforehand maybe they could. And these kids are filled with energy and ideas and creativity, and they want to help. But when we don't approach them, when we don't let them in because we think we're protecting them, we're actually, I think, hurting the full dynamic. So, there is nobody too young or too old, or any culture, any financial status. I mean, everybody needs to become involved. Having people in school that are going to be dealing with any healthcare topic at all, or any business marketing should be at this as well. This is a huge demographic. And I think it'll just be such an eye-opener. And I just can't give Anne and Steve enough kudos about this. Anne, I'm going to pull you in. And I'm just wondering what the heck you're thinking after all these wonderful comments from your raving fans.
I'm so grateful. I really am. And, there's a lot of days with this company. Steve will tell you, it's hard. We're a small business trying to grow and make it. And when I hear this stuff, it just makes it worthwhile. Like I said, I do it for the participants, and I do it for going back to my patients who inspired me so many moons ago. But I want to change patient client outcomes, and I want to make learning better for my colleagues so that they're not sitting there in these torturous events. So hearing all of this, I'm just so grateful, and it seems like we're accomplishing some of our goals, and then it makes me energized to want to go out and do even more. Just so grateful.
So Steve, how about you? What are you thinking after hearing this?
Well, just blown away. Absolutely. So appreciative of all the kind words and the ideas and the energy. Really just appreciate all the support that these wonderful ladies have helped bring me personally, but the company as well. They've worked with Anne for years, and we really could not do these events, especially could not do them at these prices without their help, without their support. These are wonderful, wonderful ladies who have really helped our company, and really just so appreciative of all they do for us throughout the year. They're wonderful.
Steve, is there anything that we've forgotten to mention that you think we need to cover?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but really appreciate this opportunity to be on with y'all today. It's been a really neat experience, and I think it's fantastic. And as Anne mentioned, we are so excited for this symposium, just a month away. We still have a lot of little things to get straightened out, but we are so excited and, again, so appreciative of the support that we've gotten.
Great. Thank you so much, Steve. And Anne, how about you? Anything that you would like to mention? I know one thing I would like you to talk about is just we touched on cost and how reasonable this is. Why don't you tell people a little bit about how to sign up?
Sure. We would love for folks to sign up, pass the word, help us get the word out. They can go to our website for a full agenda, the flyer and everything, which is CEU Creations, INC.com. So it's CEU Creations Inc.com. And then the price is $79.99. That's the full day of learning, and it includes lunch. We are able to keep the cost so low because we have awesome sponsors. They can check out the sponsors on our website. But I did want to point out, too, Nelson Elder Care Law, who Cindy was on just a little while ago, was the first person I approached. And when I asked her about it, and if she wanted to be in on this with me, I said, I'll give you a call back. I'll give you some time to think about it. She said, no time needed to think about it. I'm in. So it's with sponsors like that we can keep the cost so low for our participants, which we're grateful for. And for folks that need the CEUs, we have social work, nursing, case manager, and counselor CEUs. It's going to be 6 hours of CEs, but it's not just for people who need CEUs. So if you don't need them, don't worry about it. But if you do, we will have them. And check out our website at CEUCreationsINC.com for more information. And thank you again for having us today.
So one more question for you. As far as CEUs, is that Atlanta-based? Or would it, if people flew in from other states and stuff, would they be also covered?
Good question. So our boards are national that we work with. Most states do, well, most of our boards. For social work, it is a national board. And most states reciprocate. There's just a few weird states. I don't always know them off the top of my head because each board is different in each state. But most states, except for social work, we go through ASWB. And GCSW actually for this one is a little bit different. So this is a Georgia board for this one. Sorry, I forgot we went through a different board on this one. But for nursing, it's the California Board of Registered Nursing. Most states reciprocate that. For case manager, it's a national board, and for counselors, it's a national board. So the social work board in Georgia, but they can check and see if it's reciprocated in their state as well.
Wonderful. Well, that's always a good thing to clarify. And I think, when there's an event like this, so many people, as much as they like CEUs, a lot of times it's not going to stop them for the price and for the amount of information and the caliber of information that's going to be given to them. And then they're getting lunch to boot.
One more thing, too. A lot of folks can use, even let's say your state may not take a specific board or something. A lot of times you can use the certificate of attendance for what's called related hours in the CE world and stuff like that. People who have to get CEs will know what I'm talking about, but they can use that certificate of attendance for related hours and things like that.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank Steve and Anne McSweeney for creating CEU Creations and their unique approach to education. I can't wait to see how this goes and where you go from here. And I really want to thank our guests, Cindy, Mary Lee, and Phyllis as well for joining us. And again, you can get more information. Just go to their website, www.CEUCreations, that's S plural, Inc.com, CEUCreationsinc.com, or you can email Anne, and Anne is ANNE, just as you see on the screen there, Anne at CEUCreationsinc.com. And they're also on Facebook. So follow them on Facebook at CEU Creations. Again, thank you so much for all of you joining us in wrapping up today. Again, our goal here at Alzheimer's Speaks Radio is to shift dementia care from crisis to comfort. And I know CEU Creations has that in mind with all of the services that they're delivering as well in a broad pack, way past beyond just dementia. And kudos to you guys. I think that is so needed. And I love that you're not just the everyday educational program out there. You are developing and delivering products that really truly serve individuals to improve in their lives and in their work. And so thank you again. Please share this. I think this is going to be one of those programs you're not going to want to miss. And like I said, I can't wait to hear all about it. And if you are looking for more resources on Alzheimer's, please go to alzheimersspeaks.com. And there you will tap into all of our radio shows, our dementia chats, where I interview people with dementia, our blog, and a lot of projects and initiatives regarding dementia as well. Have a blessed week. And again, remember, September is World Alzheimer's Month. So what are you going to do different?
Hi, everyone. This is Meredith from the Senior Fitness with Meredith podcast, where I discuss all things for seniors, from fitness, your health and wellness journeys, how to be all over strong and beyond. I also have my mini podcast called Motivation with Meredith. It's a great, quick motivational pick-me-up for your days. Join me, listen now, search for Senior Fitness with Meredith on your favorite podcast platform.